welcome to the Health and Wellness edition of UNLV Arts Worldwide. I'm Steve Kaplan, Dr. Steve Kaplan from UNLV. I'm professor of oboe, but I also have been working with musicians' health issues for quite a while, a number of years now. And a couple of years ago, I got together with several of my faculty colleagues throughout the College of Fine Arts, and we organized something that we refer to as CHIP now, CHIP, the Consortium for Health and Injury Prevention for the College of Fine Arts. So the Consortium for Health and Injury Prevention is a way for those faculty members that are a part of it. Each of us has research interest in this health, in these various health issues that all kinds of performing artists have. So we have dancers, dance instructors on the consortium, people from theater, from all the different disciplines we've represented. We now have people from outside of music helping out too, from the School of Medicine and so on. So I'm going to put the oboe down for a second while I tell you more about what we do. So all of us have strong interest in helping people understand the health issues that performing artists encounter on a regular basis. Many of us have done quite a bit of research. In my case, I've actually written 2 books specifically for oboe players about these health issues and ways that understanding how the body works and how movement works helps you to be a better performer. But we work with a variety of things, both physical issues that performers encounter, but mental health issues as well. So I want to talk a little bit about health and wellness during this very strange and what seems like in many ways unhealthy time that we're living through right now with COVID-19. It's certainly changed the way each of us lives our normal day-to-day life. All of us at UNLV are having to learn to teach in a new way, doing everything virtually and doing things like this that I'm doing right now to reach out to the public and still get our message across to the public, but in a different sort of way. So I found, as I've been thinking about learning and helping my own students with the various difficulties, I've tried to find a positive side to some of the things that are going on. And it's really not that hard. There actually are many positives about the situation we're in right now, if you look at it in the right way and if you work with it in the right way. So one of the positives that I think people can relate to better now because of this, these stay-at-home orders we've had to deal with and such, is we've seen our lives turned inside out. And we've seen the traditional things that we're used to doing every single day not happening anymore. And we have to find a new means of doing things. And things that we take for granted suddenly just aren't happening anymore, and we have to do them again in a different way. And so these are things that really musicians and performing artists can learn a lot from. We start to recognize some basic habits in our life that we took so much for granted we didn't even think about them. Really simple things like how often we want to touch our own faces, and we're being told not to touch our face now. When we cough or when we sneeze, we're used to doing it in a particular way, and we have to catch ourselves and do it in a different way. So what I found in the work that I've done with musicians for many years right now, the hardest things for musicians sometimes is not learning something new, but actually unlearning things that they're so used to doing, they don't even realize they do it. So it can be very, very basic stuff like how you initially bring the instrument up to play. When I bring the oboe up to play, maybe I move my shoulders up just a little bit. And by doing that, that little extra tension that's up in this upper arm area and in my neck a little bit when I do that, that's going to inhibit my fingers from moving as freely as they could. It's going to inhibit the breathing mechanism. So it ends up disrupting the quality of the sound that I want. Those little tiny habits. But like I said, I might not have even noticed that I do that. And some people do it quite a lot. I have students that come up quite a bit like this whenever they start to play. But there are others that you barely see anything happening. In fact, only the player would really even know that there was tension there. But just the act of bringing the instrument up brings a little tension into the neck, into the upper arms. And like I said, only they can recognize this when it's brought to their attention. The big problem, though, is since they've been doing this every time they've played the instrument for who knows how, it could be decades they've been doing this, they don't even realize they're doing it. So you have to unlearn this habit, and that can be so hard. And yet every one of us now has had this experience of unlearning that habit and now doing this. There have been research studies that have shown that more than 70% of professional musicians have experienced injuries just from making music. So obviously this is not a healthy situation for any of us, and we want to fix this. So it requires a lot of work and a lot of education, and that's what we're striving to do in the College of Fine Arts, is to bring these various messages about how we can be better players and avoid these injuries in the future. So for me, the main way that I've done this is through something that's called body mapping. Body mapping is a way of teaching musicians about the body, and especially about how the body moves, so that they can improve their music making, like I was saying. It sounds simple enough, but there are two things that get in the way of this very simple thing. One is that most musicians, or many musicians, don't even acknowledge that movement is necessary to make music. Even though, obviously, for anyone to make a sound with their voice, to sing, or to play an instrument to make a sound, something has to move to make that sound. Even at its core, vibration itself, sound, is movement. Musicians get so involved with the process of music making, with thinking about the quality of the sound, the expression behind the sound, the structure of the music, the quality, so many of these other factors, that they forget they even have a body that's actually making these movements to make the sound happen. They become disconnected from their body. So that's one problem we have. The second point is that traditional music training has taught movement and taught stuff about the body that's either completely incorrect or is very misleading. So it's our job in the body mapping world to help musicians understand the accuracy of how the body moves, so that they can work with the body and not against the body. And in this way, they perform better, but they also avoid injury. So you can go back to basics. You can take this time to review the most fundamental things. How do you bring the instrument up? In fact, for violinists, if they have a habit of bringing their arm up too much like this, like I said, since that's the only way they've ever brought the violin up, it can be really hard to undo it. So maybe for a while they need to bring the violin up above them and bring it down to a playing position instead. So you experiment with simple things like that. You work with mirrors, and you really reevaluate the most fundamental things about your playing. And this is a wonderful time to take to do those things. And if we all take advantage of this opportunity to explore more deeply what we do with our art, I think when we finally come together again, we're all going to be making better music. We're all going to be dancing in a more healthy way and a more expressive way. We're going to be acting more expressively with more energy and healthier as well. So all the arts, when we finally come together again, will be at a higher level, and that will be wonderful for us. It'll be wonderful for our audiences.
Hi, my name is Dolly Kelepecz, and I'm a professor in the dance department at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I've been interested in health and wellness for a very long time. Today I want to talk about 3 different topics that are related to health and wellness. First is our Pilates program at UNLV. And then secondly, because we are in remote learning right now, I would like to talk about the UNLV Dance Fitness Challenge. And after that, I want to talk about the research project that dance is doing with the physical therapy department at UNLV. So first, let's talk about how I got involved with the interest in health and wellness. In 1987, I went to St. Francis Memorial Hospital and I met a doctor named Dr. Garrett, and he was the leading dance medicine researcher at that time in San Francisco and kind of in the nation. He was leading the way in dance medicine. While I was at St. Francis, I saw this amazing equipment, and it was called Pilates. This was in 1987, and I hadn't heard about that in Las Vegas. Nobody knew about that, and I thought, wow, I saw what you did on it, and I thought, this is amazing for dancers. As a dancer, I sustained many injuries in my 30-year plus career, and I always did traditional physical therapy, and I thought, you know, it'd be really great if there was something. And then when I got to San Francisco, I found the something. The something was called Pilates. There's also a lot of other alternative methods out there for health and wellness or injury prevention for dance and other musicians and singers. Alexander technique, Feldenkrais technique, and gyrotonic. So I studied all 4 of these things in San Francisco, and I came back and I talked to a physical therapist here, and he said, well, gee, we should bring that to Las Vegas. You go get trained and I will help you to set this up. And that was Keith Clevin, and that was in 1987. So 1987, I brought Pilates here. The thing that is so great about Pilates is that it's based on resistive training. So just like dance, in dance we push, we pull, we push the floor, we are affected by the atmosphere. We're always resisting each other when we move. So Pilates is a natural cross-training method for dance. We were one of the first universities, and state universities on top of it, to have a full-blown Pilates program. And so I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of my dance department that supports that. So that's the first thing I want to talk about with health and wellness. Second thing I want to talk about is this new UNLV Dance Fitness Challenge. It's so cool. We have opened a YouTube page, and I use it as part of my attendance grade because we're remote learning, but we're also using it as a motivational tool so that the students stay kind of connected to us and connect to us on a big level. So if you go to the UNLV Dance Department YouTube page, you'll see over 60 videos that myself and other professors, part-time and full-time, have created and put on the site that the kids can follow. They send us a copy of what they've done, and then a video copy, and you get a sticker, and at the end there's a prize. And then lastly, the most important thing that for me is near and dear to my heart is one of my colleagues from when I was dancing here in Las Vegas. Her name is Cassie Turner. She studied Pilates, and she taught Pilates for me for a long time, and during that period of time she got her degree at UNLV in physical therapy, and now she's actually a professor in the department. So she and I have worked together to develop a injury prevention research type of project that includes evals and screenings for our dancers. And we've been doing it for 3 years. The first year was kind of a test run, so 2 years we've been very, very focused on it, and it's amazing the research that has come out of it. Dancers always think that they're so cardiovascular, and we found out that's part of the reason why they get injured, is that they're not cardiovascular enough on a continuous basis. So I'm very proud of this project, and it will actually be the project from this year, because they can't give it in the seminar class where they usually give it, because we are remote now. They usually give the presentation to the students because it is about them and the research that they found about working with them, screenings and or evals, taking notice of the injuries that they have incurred during the semester. So we are opening putting their film on our YouTube page, and you'll be able to watch the research project, and then it'll be followed up by an Instagram Live interview with Professor Cassie Turner. So I want to thank UNLV Arts Worldwide for inviting me to share my thoughts on health and wellness.
Today we're here to talk about a project you did that involves 3D printing and medical workers. Do you want to just do a brief introduction of it?
Yeah. So basically, as many people are kind of getting more accustomed to wearing masks, a lot of the current designs they grab around the back of the ear. So there's a lot of things that are floating around now to basically relieve tension in the ear, or at least like from behind, especially when it comes to some of the homemade mask and some of the more common like surgical mask designs. So basically, this was just to help ease some of that wear and tear on the human body. A lot of the designs often have a more thicker like band material, or the design for the bands are a lot thicker. Some of them also are, they have a set size, which I'm assuming is just general, to whatever area that they're working in. But the thicker the band, the less flexible the material will become, and also the direction of prints, especially 3D prints, matters a lot. So sometimes if it's printed like horizontally or perpendicularly across the bending area, it's just going to crack. So an optimal design would actually print along the tension area. So if it's bending, it should have a band that's printed like directly across those two locations. And I reinforce them just by printing extra bands parallel. That way they're a little bit more durable, and also they require less material to print.
So you said that was it a family member that reached out?
It was a friend's significant other working in pharmacy.
Okay, so your friend reached out to you. Is this the sort of thing you usually work on?
Typically, when it comes to any type of design or research involving anything in terms of optimization, uh, I inherently am very interested in optimization in some way, shape, or form, whether it be in my own projects like designing for 3D printing and thinking about 3D printing as its own kind of independent manufacturing process. So, looking at a couple of designs, I found different ways to optimize it in that way. And even when I use 3D printing in my own work, I try to think of like the quote unquote optimal way to 3D print something. That way, you not only have like a strong material, like an efficient use of the material as well, so producing less waste, but also something that is like intrinsic to 3D printing versus just looking like it's been 3D printed.
Okay, so you've made this thing and you've handed it off to the medical care worker who needed it. Do you have any other future plans for this design?
Uh, I definitely have made two sizes, basically according to some of the feedback that I got, even though it was very brief. A lot of the homemade masks sometimes they're designed a little bit too short, so instead of having to remake it and also have it, pull around the back of the ear, I've made a little bit of a longer one that's made it easier for some of those like slightly shorter or slightly longer masks to be more accommodatable. It also requires a lot less material than a lot of the current designs that I can see online, so I'm hoping to just like upload it, submit it, and have hopefully some other people review and test it and give some feedback. Nice thing about this manufacturing process is we can have a really quick turnaround, and we can also iterate extraordinarily fast. So, getting feedback and basically improving it as much as possible during the time that we need it, and maybe in the future need it, is pretty much what I'm working on. And I guess if anyone else is interested or would like to reach out for some, I'm pretty. It's such low cost to me that I really don't mind just giving them away for free, or whoever will need it or whoever can need it. So any contact, any way to help out Nevada, any way to help out Las Vegas, I'm glad to do it.
Oh, that's really nice. So if anyone has their ears hurting from wearing all the required masks, you know who to talk to.
Yeah.
All right, well, I hope you have a good day and I hope you're staying safe over there.
Yeah. You too. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Bonita for this wellness edition of UNLV Arts Worldwide. I'm here on Zoom with UNLV School of Music's own Dr. Linda Lister, who is professor of voice and director of opera theater. Dr. Lister is an accomplished soprano, educator, and scholar. She is also an award-winning director and composer. And she has become an expert in the field of yoga for singers. And here's her book if you're interested, Yoga for Singers. Beautiful. Love it. So thank you so much for being here to talk to me today. It sounds like you've had to think outside the box to turn an ensemble course of opera workshop into something that the students could still thrive with and be nurtured from during the semester. So what have their reactions been to doing yoga for singers instead of doing a performance?
Yes, I mean, it's been really hard on all of the music ensembles, and I'm sure the theater department as well, because we thrive on live performance, that magic, being on stage with other people and feeling that collaboration. So, our students were very disappointed when we had to cancel our scenes program, but we've still been doing dramatic coachings through Zoom and working on character analyses and things like that. And then I expanded the yoga for singers practice that we'd already been doing with these videos, and I wanted to make them not live. I mean, something that was stored so they could do them hopefully repeatedly, not just one time, if that would be of comfort to them. And yeah, they've responded and saying, yeah, I'm doing my practice with my dog, while we're at home, the pets are loving it, and my cat loves to do yoga, to lie on my yoga mat while I'm trying to do yoga.
Mine too.
And apparently dogs do the same, I'm told, so.
As we are struggling to make meaning of this time, I see a lot of folks on social media posting about goals, particularly fitness goals, and I wonder if you could tell us how yoga specifically could be good for this time in our world as a person in quarantine, as an artist, as a student, a teacher.
Yes, it definitely is unprecedented at the time we're in. But at the same time, we could, as some people are doing, find hopefully some goals to keep us going. I think the ritual of yoga can be very comforting for people. There's a sort of a systematic comfort in ritual. People should also be just a little bit kind with themselves and not decide, well, during this quarantine, I'm going to become, a super advanced yogi. And then, then they're practicing by themselves and then they strain their back. And, so you do have to be careful. And I would always recommend small goals, doable goals, especially with what's going on right now, so that we don't get overwhelmed. Just because we have theoretically a lot of time to do things, sometimes it's really hard to focus. But that's where yoga can really help us, because it helps you focus on this moment and be in this present moment. And that's what is really hard to do right now when everything seems so uncertain. But really, life is always uncertain. We never know what the next moment will bring. So yoga teaches us to be in this moment, not worrying about the next moment, not rewriting what you did in the past. It's similar to what Eckhart Tolle calls, the power of now.
Wow.
And making peace with now, right? Whatever it may be. And then more specifically, of course, exercise of any kind is great. Endorphins in terms of, helping keep yourself healthy and in positive mindsets. So yoga, the asanas or the poses are good for that. The yoga breathing practice, the pranayama, can help you control your breath, because for most of us, when we get stressed, our breathing gets shallow, then we start to tighten, and then we get anxiety that's just heightened by the physical and the mental. And that's something that most of us deal with in a different way. And then some of us deal with dry mouth in terms of our reaction to the stress. So there are all these different, the fight or flight response, all these different reactions. So yoga is really good at trying to combat that and really engage the relaxation response.
What are some good asanas or poses for those of us who are sitting at our computers all day long?
Yes, I mean, our society for a while has been very screen driven, and now everyone is forced to be, right? To communicate with people, to work, shop, to watch Netflix. I'm sure we're forced to do that, right? So one of the best things you can do is just, instead of always working your spine back and forth, just to do some spinal twists. So even seated, to make sure that you're not always rounding, that you can do some spinal twists. Of course, you want to be careful with spinal twists if you're pregnant, of course, right? And then, of course, we talked about rounding. So you want to do the opposite. You want to do some arches. So you can even do that. I'm just putting my hands on my desk here, doing some modifications of cat and cow. Or you could, stand up and do them. just to keep flexibility in the spine so it doesn't get rigid, because that's when everything starts to lock up, and then its shoulders rise, tension here. And then my favorite for shoulder tension is eagle pose. Again, this is just the arms, not the legs. But what you do is you'll bring your hands, palms up in front, cross the elbows. There's several different levels here. You might touch your shoulders. If you have a lot of muscle in your upper back, this might be as far as you can go if you're a football player or something. But others of us, we might be able to get the backs of the hands together, or even the palms. And it doesn't matter which version you do, as long as you feel stretch in the shoulders. And to me, this is like the closest thing I can get to a shoulder massage right now, because it's lengthening that area that I was compressing, right? Of course, you want to make sure you're breathing while you're doing these poses. You want to hold your breath, because that won't help, right? And then, of course, you want to make sure you do the other side, stay balanced. So again, cross the elbows, maybe touch your shoulders, maybe the backs of the hands, maybe the palms. Maybe you lift the elbows a little bit. You don't want to strain, you just want to get a gentle stretch here. And then always some good side stretches or variation on gate pose, always good. So make sure you're still breathing and the intercostals aren't all locked up in the rib cage. So lots of things we can do, but you just have to remind yourself, like after a 2-hour Zoom meeting, you have to do some of this, right?
Hi, I'm Kavouras. I'm chair of the dance department at UNLV. As our lives have become more remote and distant, there's some things that I miss that I didn't pay attention to before. I miss walking from the parking garage to the studio. I miss walking upstairs to get to my class. I miss walking down the hall to get to a colleague's office. And I miss walking across campus so that I can get to a meeting. If you're like me, now you spend your days virtually traveling from one remote meeting to the other. And some days I have 8 of them, whether it's WebEx or Google Hangouts Meet or Zoom or Instagram Live or YouTube Live. And I knew nothing about these platforms before this started. Here are some suggestions for how to navigate these meetings from basic colleague level to boss level. Here's how to succeed. If possible, don't always use the same location. Travel around your house, so by the end of the day, you haven't spent all of your time in one location. If Wi-Fi is good, spend some time outside. Do the meeting outside. And make sure you sit in the back of the chair with your sacrum against the back of the chair. Open your chest, lift up your spine, and don't slouch your way through the meeting. Stand up and let your head float upward. Between meetings, take activity breaks. Take a walk around the block. Walk the dog. Even take a jog. If possible, do the meeting standing up. I have this stand here, so I'm able to put my laptop on the stand and I can stand during the meeting. While I stand, I can lift my spine, I can pull my front core in, I can open my back, and I can work on my posture. If you're a boss level multitasker, consider a stationary bike. Do the meeting and get some exercise at the same time. What I like about this is during a 1-hour meeting, I can burn between 200 and 400 calories. And it's fantastic when my Apple Watch tells me you've hit your exercise goal for the day. A lot of people wonder, what will it be like when this pandemic is over? When we're back on campus and we're no longer remote and we're with each other. Some changes might be subtle. I might get rid of my office chair. I might work from my exercise bike or take a jog or a run between meetings and between classes. Whatever we do, let's stay happy, let's stay healthy, let's keep moving, and let's stay upright. Keep moving.
I'm glad it exists. Some people don't think about other perspective of how people live or their daily living or how they adapt to whatever life they have. So I'm glad it exists, and there are students who have the passion for it, and they all have open minds and subjective to everything. And ADA, it's a big part of everything. So now that I take ADA in consideration, everywhere I go, I'm critiquing it. Like, oh my God, I can't fit, or it's too high, or it's too long, or the incline, or there's steps and you have to walk 25 feet to an elevator. So I think you have to be in that life or that perspective to know what to look for.
I think it's fantastic that the curriculum writers at the school, such as yourself and some of the other people here, are have the foresight to start including this in the program. This is really like an uncharted water, at least in my time period. And if you're teaching this at the school, that's awesome, because you'll have a new generation coming out that's going to go into the workforce with at least an understanding. Whether they continue on this path or not, they have an understanding of it. So when they design things, they can get the whole design team online to do it above and beyond just the standard code ADA nonsense. Because it's what Bree said, a lot of it's individualized, especially for a residential type thing. So I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing here. My interaction with the students was pretty awesome. I think that the whole ADA market, in terms of residential, is there's a great need for it. As I was talking to the professor here earlier, me and my father used to build homes for the VA for people in wheelchairs 30 years ago, and 30 years now I'm in a wheelchair, so I have some experience with it. But it was really not very mainstream back when 30 years ago when I was doing it with my father. I since do big commercial work now, but I think that there's a definite need for it. I think that the housing tract that we were in was absolutely not designed with any type of forethought for any kind of ADA thing.
Oh yeah, I like the fact that they were very open to all of our opinions. And like to piggyback on what Lauren said, you do have to compensate for wider floor plans, or like the stairs in the house. There were a lot of stairs. Like even if it was maybe 3 or 4, that could be all right. But it was like a whole flight of stairs, and you're tired before you get to the top. So I would say like bigger single story homes would be
Ranches.
Yeah, that would be more
Ranch.
more compensate for ADA factors.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm so pleased that we had a chance to share episode 3 of our UNLV Arts Worldwide with you today. The subject of health, wellness, and art is incredibly important to all of us. And I know that you saw some demonstrations and some perspectives about that. I would like to emphasize how special each and every one of you is in the way you contribute every single day to society. You contribute actually to the health and well-being of our college, of our community, and wherever you are in the world. But I do want to acknowledge this is a challenging time for the world. This is why we're so pleased to be able to share this with you. But we are worried. We're worried about our friends and family. And at the university here, we're very worried about our students and their families and how they're getting their basic needs met. And it's a time of ambiguity. No one really knows what's coming next. But being alive is a gift, and we've got to celebrate. And what better way to celebrate our lives than through the arts? always know that your art and creative contributions also heal us and keep our society healthy. Stay well, healthy, and creative, reaching from Las Vegas to the world. See you next week.